people not acting authentically. If your business only makes money, it's not a very good business.
A lot of people are going to work just for the sake of paying the bills.
77% of employees do not feel as though they are engaged at work. A lot of small business owners haven't identified what hats they're wearing. You can't be an effective leader and manager in a business if you don't have this essential ability to coach.
Brent, welcome to Leaders Mindset. Last time we spoke, you mentioned that we should have had some hidden cameras around in the studio, and that could have turned out a podcast on its own.
You know,
Yeah.
that was a great conversation, and that's exactly, I think, what a good podcast is when people are just actually having a conversation.
Well, why don't we just simply ignore now there are cameras around us and lights are not existing?
I'm
and
kind
let's
of
have a
hoping.
great
I'm kind of
conversation.
hoping that that's what we're going to do today, Mo. And but it's a true pleasure to be here.
Okay, let's start off with talking about politics.
Lovely.
Lovely. That's something that everybody wants to stay away from these days. So the politics that I want to talk about mainly is politics that employees talk about all the time. When they come to their houses, they mention that there's so much politics happening in the workplace.
Sure.
And what type of politics is that? Like, what is it that they are talking about? Is that politics really?
Yeah, I think it is
Yeah.
politics.
Okay.
And what I think that is people not acting authentically. People saying things they don't really believe. People doing things. We talk about politically correct speech, right? That when you are speaking to any type of audience, you have to protect your authenticity for fear of repercussion. And politics in the workplace happens when people are not acting authentically in their true interests or in the interests of the people that they're working with, that people are making decisions that they think are going to advance their behavior, maybe even at the consequence to somebody else.
What causes them not speak authentically? Like, are we
Fear. I think it's something in the cultural aspect of the organization where there's a certain fear that happens that if they make the wrong decision, so they therefore check their speech. Politics in the workplace is very similar to, I think, politics in life, that there's an inherent distrust sometimes in what politicians say, that they're making decisions from a self-interested perspective. And that, I think, is the root cause and the source of what happens in the workplace is when people are making decisions and communicating those decisions with self-interest in mind. And that's what creates that perception of politics in the workplace.
So you mentioned not being authentic. So is that the staff not being authentic, or the management team not being authentic, or the leadership not being authentic? Who is not being authentic?
Well, I think it's all of them, and it probably comes back down to a misalignment of incentives, that somewhere in there, that when politics happens in the workplace, there's some form of misalignment, a misalignment of incentives, a misalignment of understanding what the common goal is, what the vision of the organization is. And the more that you have clarity of expectations, you have less politics. If you can ensure that you are fostering alignment throughout the organization, you will have less politics. If you're ensuring that incentives have truly been aligned appropriately to ultimately still be focused on what is good for the business. And what's good for the business is what's good for the people working in the business, what's good for the product that creates the value, that customer experience. And ultimately, does it make the business money? Because if the business doesn't make money, it will cease to exist.
Absolutely.
But politics happens when there's a misalignment of incentives or a misalignment of expectations as it relates to having a positive impact on all three of those components of the business, the people, the product, and the profit.
Yeah. So once that's fixed, then there's going to be less politics in the workplace.
If
so
you
less
fix-
politics is a good thing? Is that what you're
Oh,
referring to?
absolutely. Less politics, especially in the workplace, is a good thing.
Let's talk about culture. So once we figure out, okay, let's say leaders took care of the workplace, being less politics in the workplace, and obviously they want to create some sort of a culture, right?
Right.
So the culture there has been some kind of a misalignment, as you said. I've had two guests the other day here on Leaders Mindset podcast. They had two different philosophies about workplace culture.
Yes.
One was referring to creating a work culture that is more of a family type of work culture.
Right.
And the other individual was like, no, it should be straight employee-employer work
Right.
culture. What is your perspective? What is your take on that?
So I think, like anything, your culture has to be a foundation of what the purpose of your business is. And the purpose of your business has to be more than just making money. Henry Ford quote, if your business only makes money, it's not a very good business. So why does your business exist? Why did you start that business? If you are the owner or the CEO or the leader of that business, why are you leading that business? What is the greater good that business is trying to accomplish? And I don't mean that in some kind of fluffy way, but what is the purpose that's driving it? And understanding the values of the organization that are shared within it is what starts to define that culture. But I don't know if there's a one right way. I think it is more of a function of, why does that business exist? What is the purpose that it's serving? And the better we understand the purpose of the business, the more we talk about what is the purpose of the business, then we can create an alignment of the right values to fulfill that purpose. And those values are what create that culture. Depending upon the purpose of an organization, maybe the right culture is more of a family-oriented approach. Whereas maybe if the business has a different purpose, maybe it should have a much more structured, professional type of structure to it. It really comes down to, the deeper you understand the purpose of your business, why you're doing what you're doing, I think that, and then aligning that with the values that are going to best help you fulfill that purpose, it's going to create the right culture for the organization. But if you don't discover your purpose and you don't identify the shared values that are in alignment with achieving that purpose, then you may have that misalignment of not having the right culture fit.
So basically, cultures can change from organization to organization depending on the purpose.
Yes, I don't think there's one right culture. I think it's about an alignment of the values to the vision, or the values to the purpose of the organization, that helps define a better culture. And the better aligned it is, the stronger the culture will be.
So we know employers have purpose. Okay, the company comes up, having purpose, value, and goals. So they're working towards that purpose, achieving that purpose. Should that be trickled down to the employee level, like the staff level? Should the employees or staff know what that purpose is in order for them to align some sort of a fulfillment coming to the workplace? How does that work?
So first off, yes is the answer. How it gets communicated is through consistent communication of your mission, vision, values, and that purpose. So when I talk about mission, vision, values, and purpose, your purpose is your why. The greater good. It speaks to more than just we make widgets, right? The mission is how you're working towards that purpose. It's more of the how. The vision is, what are we aspiring to become? What are we going to accomplish as a result? It's the what. So if the purpose is the why, and the mission is the how, and the vision is the what we are striving to become, the values that we share are the glue that hold that together. And the more that senior leadership within an organization, regardless if this is an organization of 2 people or 20,000 people, the more consistently the leadership of the organization communicates clearly the vision, what are we trying to become, how are we going to do that, the mission, and the shared values that become almost the expectations of who we're going to hire or even who we might fire if we can't share these values together. Because and values have to be more than just words on a wall. They have to be behaviors that we exhibit while we're delivering that mission, that how, towards that vision. And the more frequently that senior leadership communicate in the same language, right? You don't want to have the CEO saying one thing and the COO saying something else, and the manager in this division saying something else. No, there has to be an alignment of what are we striving to become, how are we going to do that, our mission, and what are the values by which that guide our behaviors.
Yeah. Do you think employers are delivering this message effectively to employees? Because what I find nowadays is a lot of people are going to work just for the sake of paying the bills. And
Correct.
I've met with so many people saying, well, when you ask them, how's work? Oh, it pays the bills.
Right.
I mean, like, okay, is there no purpose going to work? Like, what's going on? Are organizations not delivering this effectively? Is that what's happening?
I think that that's actually a big part of it, that they haven't sat down to clearly define it. In fact, in something, as I've consulted with a number of businesses at different scales across different organizations, like I've worked with Fortune 50 companies, and I've worked with a local bookkeeper with 3 employees, right? So the entire range and scale. But having that clarity of why am I doing, what am I trying to accomplish, the vision, what is my mission of the how I'm going to do that, and what are the values that I truly hold dear to me as an organization.
But is it really necessary for the staff to have that purpose?
So one, if you want to create an alignment throughout your organization and create and define roles and responsibilities within your organization that help the business achieve their vision, if you don't communicate it, you're not going to create that alignment, which means the roles won't have a defined purpose of what they're trying to accomplish, which is where you end up with that lack of fulfillment in somebody's position, in somebody's work.
So what you're saying is for the staff to know their why they're going to work should be there for them to wake up in the morning and feel good to go to work.
One of the things that I normally advise, like you don't see this on a lot of job postings today.
Yeah.
But if I design a job description, the first thing that I write at the top of the job description that's more important than the title and more important, why does this role exist?
Wow. I love that. Yeah, exactly. That's the reason for a person to wake up to, something that gives them that fulfillment, right? That purpose to answering why they're going to work, right? And it seems like we are completely disconnected nowadays. Like not a lot of people have that fulfillment or, that purpose to wake up to, right? Every morning. Yeah.
Agreed.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So in your job title, you would have the why first.
I absolutely, why does this position exist?
Let's say here in Canada, in our country, do you think people are satisfied with their jobs in terms of like what is the job satisfaction rates compared to other countries?
Compared to other countries, it's actually a global phenomenon that engagement at work is not where it should be. If you have a chance, I strongly recommend reading Gallup's annual research. They survey companies all across the planet. And what they're really trying to study in their workforce study is employee engagement. And the reality is employee engagement is moving in the wrong direction.
Wow.
It's actually at a 10-year low.
Wow.
As of the most recent study. 77% of employees today do not feel as though they are engaged at work.
Wow. What's the cause? Why?
Lack of alignment. A lack of alignment of an understanding of what is this organization trying to accomplish, a lack of alignment of defining why that role exists that they've been put into, a lack of alignment of the tools and technology that they're using to try to accomplish that. And I don't mean that they have bad tools, but we haven't necessarily aligned the expectations.
So who could fix this problem that exists? Like who's there to fix it? Like are leaders, aren't leaders supposed to be taking care of this?
They absolutely are. This is why, this really is one of the driving motivations to what I've been doing really for the last 30 years of my career is trying to, what is it that makes somebody a great boss? What is it that is that definition of a great boss? And it is ultimately one that helps create that alignment. The definition that I have worked out, though, is that a great boss is somebody who makes informed and accountable decisions and effectively communicates those decisions to ultimately improve each of the three major components of the business. The people in the business, the employees are happier with the decisions that we make and with the way that we've communicated it, that the product is better for the customer, whatever that product is, but what the experience it creates or the value it creates for the customer. And ultimately, yes, the business has to make money. It's the fuel that keeps the whole thing going, right? The business doesn't keep moving. The wheels don't keep rolling unless the profit is there. But a great boss is someone who makes informed and accountable decisions and clearly communicates those decisions to have a positive win-win-win result. Good for the employees, good for the people, good for the product, good for the customer experience, and good for the profitability, the financial health of the business.
You've been using the word boss again and again, and it seems like you've been doing it intentionally. And it seems like we have been demonizing the word boss for a very long time. And you always see like social media boss, pushing people, whereas leader pulling people for them. And can you tell me more about why are you using specifically the word boss over and over again?
Actually, you know what? When I think of my favorite bosses, he was a great boss.
Okay.
She was an amazing boss.
Okay.
That's how our brain is naturally inclined to think.
Yeah.
It's actually it is a term of respect in a lot of ways.
Okay.
I think the problem is a misalignment or a misunderstanding of the distinction between just what is a leader, what is a manager, and that what they really are is being a leader and being a manager are just two sides of the same coin. It's not that somebody is a leader or a boss and one is good and one is bad. No, you can be a shitty leader. You can be a bad leader, just like you can be a bad manager, just like you can be a bad boss. Or you can strive to be both a great leader and a great manager, which is what makes somebody a great boss. Because there's not such a thing as boss itself isn't a bad word. Being a bad boss, that's terrible. Don't be a bad boss. But you can strive.
So why is it demonized? Where is this originating from? Where is it coming from?
Where did it originate from? I think people like to use it as a form of social media engagement, I think, or a misunderstanding of just understanding that concept even. Like I've even seen the word manager being disparaged in a negative way and say be a leader, not a manager. That's just not true. If we want to be effective, we have to be both a great leader and a great manager combined. And that's what allows us to be a great boss, somebody who's capable of making informed and accountable decisions and communicating those decisions that have a positive impact on all of the elements of a business.
Okay, so a boss can be a great boss, could be a shitty boss, bad boss.
Yes.
So as a leader.
Yes.
So is there differentiation, like in terms of roles? Can a boss be a leader?
Well, no, a boss has to be a good leader.
Okay,
So
boss is a leader.
let me Peter Drucker, famous for consulting companies for many decades, coining the term what a knowledge worker is, really outlaying the foundation of the concept of management by objectives. But one of the most revered thought leaders when it comes to effective management in today's modernized society. What he defined is management is about doing things right. Leadership is about doing the right things. Or put another way, I sometimes use a story to articulate the difference between a leader and a manager.
I love stories, yeah.
So once upon a time, there were two farmers, Mike and Larry. Now, Mike, this guy was a brilliant manager. Like, I mean, he had the right planning mechanisms for his farm all laid out. He had perfect processes, how he was going to use all of the equipment on his field, all of the processes. He had detailed standard operating procedures for everything. And he even had great performance metrics. He measured everything. He measured the yield. He measured the efficiency of each of his equipment. He measured the efficiency of all of his employees. Mike was a great manager. He managed everything the right way. Larry, on the other hand, he was a great leader. He really had clarity of his purpose. Like, Larry started his farm because he wanted to create food abundance for his local community. He had a deep understanding of human principles, like truly what drives human behaviors, truly understanding that people have a unique craving to be appreciated, and that incentives drive all human behavior. And he also led forward with a true growth mindset, or led with progress. He wanted to challenge the status quo. He really wanted to make things better. Now, the problem is both Larry and Mike ended up failing at farming. See, the problem is Mike had none of Larry's leadership capabilities. While he was doing things all the right way, he wasn't focused on doing the right things. He didn't really farm with any sense of purpose. He just wanted to make money.
So that element of purpose, there was no...
He didn't care about human principles, so he didn't care about the way he spoke to people. And he didn't really lead with a sense of progress. He just thought he had the right way, and you can't tell me I can do it better. And Larry, unfortunately, while he had all these great leadership characters, he had none of Mike's management capabilities. He didn't plan for anything. He had no planning, decision-making capabilities. He didn't outline any processes of here's the best and ideal way to get things done and how to use the tools and technology effectively to create the positive results for the farm. And he didn't measure anything. He had no performance measurement, so he didn't know whether his farm was producing well or not. The reality is, you can't be just a leader or a manager. You have to be both Larry and Mike if you want to make your business successful, which is why I use the term be a great boss. You become that combination of both Larry and Mike in one, that you're doing
Both
things the right
skills
way, but doing
complement.
the right things.
Yeah, very well put. So each skill set complements the other one. So they have to be...
And the better
Good,
aligned
good.
they are, the more effective your decisions will be.
What makes a great leader?
Well, that's a deep question, but so I do talk about what makes a great leader, but that's a deep concept, and it really is dependent on a lot of different characteristics. I've always defined it as the 3 Ps of leadership, that I do have to have a sense of why am I leading in the first place. If I don't know why I'm leading, what am I doing here? Yes, I think the better that we understand true universal human principles. And by universal human principles, I mean the things that haven't changed since ancient Egypt. I mean the things that are the same whether we are here in Canada or whether we're supporting teams on the other side of the earth in the Philippines. I mean universal human principles that will translate just as well to a baby boomer as they will to the Gen Z workforce population. Human principles like our craving to be appreciated, that we should find ways to fulfill that craving to be appreciated in the workplace, that incentives do drive all human behavior, and fundamentally that we're social animals. We want to be connected.
Absolutely.
And we need to be focused on how are we strengthening the connections, the relationships between the people that we have if we want to lead effectively. And third, when I talk about progress, I do mean truly embracing that growth mindset, that we want to strive to have continuous growth and improvement of our behaviors, of the things that we say and do that create the product for our customers, that create the work environment for our employees, that create the profits for our business. We need to embrace that growth mindset, that sense of progress in the way that we lead, that we have to challenge the status quo, that we have to strive for continuous improvement. Otherwise, the competition's going to eat our lunch.
Yeah, you talked about the leader having that greater purpose and that greater meaning.
Yes.
Do you see any great leader existing right now in this world?
Do I see any great leader existing in this world now?
Right now.
Yeah, but everybody's got their flaws, man. There's no that there's no. I don't think that there's an idealized version of a great leader. I think we've got some fantastic local business leaders that have demonstrated that they are doing something that benefits the community, strengthens the connections between people, but everybody has their room
for improvement. Yeah,
everybody's got their room for improvement.
What about political leaders?
What about political leaders?
With all the things that's happening around the world now, there's a lot of division happening.
There is a lot of division right now, and I think that there's definitely some that are better than others, and it's the way it comes down to those same three things that I just talked about is having an alignment of their purpose. You know, you can choose to take out the political conversation, but the reality is probably the most consistent speaker on Canadian values and what it means to be, what it means to lead in this country. Mr. Polyev has done a wonderful example. I think he's actually a good example of consistency. If you go listen to his, interviews or speeches from 20 years ago, they're focused on the same common sense values of how can we make, how do we make Canada work better for Canadians?
We see a lot of polarization now, right? We see two extreme ends.
Yes.
And funny thing is, it appears like people are divided, yet the politicians themselves, they hang out. Sometimes they go out fishing. That's what I was told recently by a politician that I was talking to. It's like, yes, they are from two different parties, but they go out for fish. What is causing this drift? Like, in the people, like,
right?
We are kind of like, you don't see more centralists anymore. People are kind of drifted to two extreme ends. What is it? What's happening here?
Well, I think that's actually a misperception of reality. I think so much more of us are actually much more center aligned, that there are those universal principles of human nature, and that, because I'm honestly, at the end of the day, I am a centrist. I am that person. It's hard to move away from the center.
Everybody I talk to, they call themselves centrist.
Correct.
But at the same time, two centrists that I bring together, sometimes they would see each other.
Here's
two
what
extreme ends.
So it makes centrist conversations make for bad political theater. It makes for bad ability to distinguish oneself from another. It certainly doesn't do you any benefit when it comes to generating a news headline or getting you clicks on whatever social media platform you happen to be trying to engage on. That the noise from the extremes become the perception of politics, when the reality is most of us really do thrive in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But that said, but we can still all get along too. Like one of my best lifelong childhood friends has been a staunch extreme left, right, and one of my other lifelong friends extreme on the right. But you know what? We still have a great time over dinner.
Amazing. Yeah, that's what we need, and we need something to bring people together and have open-minded conversations. And yes, you could have extreme. It may appear like extreme view, but understanding each other, where they're coming from, their perspectives, each other's perspective should be respected, right? And have a great conversation together.
It's look, I when it comes, my brain thinks business for the most part, right? Because I honestly see business as, well, it's the reason we have any comforts. It's the reason that we're currently sheltered from the wonderful minus 10 degree snowstorm outside today. Business is what created the innovations to allow us to create buildings in the first place to live in, let alone be able to have this kind of conversation with you, Mo, right? All of those great innovations came from commerce, came from business. And the more that we can support good business, the more innovation, the more comfort, the more abundance that we create for the societies and the communities that we reside in. But stronger the connections we're able to make with those people. Because it's also hard to have a fun dinner conversation with folks if you're worried about where your next meal is coming from.
I'm curious about leadership roles. Okay, when it comes to political leaders, we elect them, right?
Yes.
Like let's say they do their marketing and all that, and we base it based on our assessment or our principles and alignments with that individual. So we elect our political leaders. But when it comes to business leaders and organizational leaders, we don't elect them. They're there. They're put there by shareholders.
Correct.
So what are the pros and cons of having a leader that is just there in an organization? Shouldn't we? I don't know. Like, what's your take on that?
Well, first off, I hope
something that I'm curious
Well, first
about.
off, I hope they weren't just placed in there.
Okay.
I hope that they earned the right by the consistency with which they have made good decisions that had positive impacts on their business.
So,
like, look, I worked myself up to corporate ranks, right? my first job in a large organization of any kind, I was a low-level employee.
Yeah.
But then I, demonstrated an interest to take on more.
Yeah.
Then I was put into a supervisory role, and then I started doing a good job. I made good
So
decisions, and I helped people grow and
Who
improve.
makes that decision to put you to higher?
Usually it's going to come from your next level, your support, your boss, right? He or she is going to be that person who's observed you most directly making good business decisions.
So those who report to you have not elected you to be a leader for them.
They haven't, but they also, but in a way,
What is a good system? That's what I'm trying to find out. Like,
a good system is one that is truly merit-based. And you say the people that you're supporting. So when you're in a leadership role, I do look at it as your role is to support that team. If you're not good at supporting that team, while they may not elect you per se, they probably are going to be bitching and moaning about you a lot.
Okay.
And as a result, your decisions, because if your employees that you're responsible for supporting, your team of people are bitching and moaning about you as a boss, that's gonna make its way up to the person who's going to make the decision to promote you or give you more responsibility in the future. So while you're not elected per se, the feedback of the people that you're supporting is going to influence your results. And I think in a certain way that our political system happens in that way by nature as well. Like, yes, we hold elections that make the final determination, but that person normally doesn't earn that right to be on the ticket unless they've demonstrated a capability at a more entry-level position.
We talk a lot about why, and you mentioned earlier talking about what is your why?
Oh, what is my why?
Yeah.
We kind of actually touched on this already.
Yeah.
My why is that I truly do believe that good business is the source of all the good things that we have in society. That through good business, it's what creates the abundance. Through good business, it's what creates the ability to have a great home that we can raise our family in so that we can have the time to share those special events and build those connections. It's through great business that we have abundance so that you and I can go out for dinner on a Saturday night and enjoy a meal together and strengthen our connection and build relationships. That at the end of the day, good business is the source of all abundance in society. It strengthens our ability to make better connections within our community and within our own friends and family. That at the end of the day, if we help businesses be better, we make our communities better, we make society better, we strengthen the connections between people, which is inherently what we as people are striving for. Good business, better community, better connection.
And the civilization is basically based on good business, right?
Civilization is based on good business. It did all innovation really was because of something that someone created value for someone else, right? Business is the exchange of value. Somebody did something, and whatever that thing was that they created, whatever service they provided, it was more valuable than what someone else had to exchange for it.
You have a quote on your LinkedIn.
I do.
Do you remember?
Which one?
Grow your business, free your time.
Grow your business, free your time.
Yeah. I don't understand what that really means. Like logical point of perspective, I would think as I grow my business, I wouldn't be able to free more time. I would be more swamped and busy.
Right.
And I would have to put in more time. What do you mean by grow your business and free time?
Well, if we grow our business the right way, what we're doing is that hopefully we're growing our business in a way that allows us to delegate some responsibilities with purpose. If we're growing our business, which means we're growing our team to help provide a better result for our customers, right? We're also doing a better job of defining the roles and responsibilities in the organization, especially if you're a small business owner. Small business owners wear a lot of hats, man. They wear a ton of hats. The problem is a lot of small business owners haven't identified what hats they're wearing. They haven't identified.
But don't they have to wear those hats, like technician hat, managerial hat, leadership
of course
hat?
As a small business, yes, for a while you have to wear all the hats. But
how do they get out of this?
They get out of it by clearly defining what each of the hats are that they're wearing to support in their business. What is my marketing hat? What is my sales hat? What is my product creation fulfillment hat? What is my customer support hat? What's my finance hat? What's my technology hat? And what are the responsibilities? So I normally talk about it as roles and responsibilities. Clearly define each of the roles. One person might have today 7 different roles, but the better we do of defining the responsibilities and why that role exists, we can start to then look for opportunities to delegate some of those roles and responsibilities. If we clearly define why that role exists, and then clearly define what are the responsibilities that make up that role, if we know why it exists and what are the responsibilities, and how do we measure success for those roles, including documenting those processes right down to standard operating procedures, if you want to use the fancy term SOPs, but really identifying the best way to achieve those results.
Yeah.
It is a mindset. It's a mindset of, why am I doing this thing?
Yeah.
What is the expected result, the responsibilities, and the measurement of, and how do I do that thing? Well, now I have a means by which, because I've defined it, now I can delegate it.
Yeah, it appears like most of small businesses, especially local businesses, they're so much swamped with day-to-day operations, and they never think of outside the box. And I spoke with like a few of them, and I specifically mentioned about delegation.
Yes.
And one answer that I've been getting consistently is, I have nobody to trust. There's nobody that I can trust.
Yes.
And this has been coming over and over again. And I'm like, okay, like at some point you will have to trust someone.
You absolutely do. It's foundational. Look, a good friend of mine wrote a book called Creating Meaningful Partnerships at Work. And ultimately, to create a meaningful partnership between a boss and their employees, the first thing that we need to do is have an ability to actually have empathy and understanding of other people's perspective. When I talk about those, to be a good leader, an understanding of human principles, which also means our ability to listen and understand people. You're not going to be able to build trust unless you have that layer of being able to listen and understand, because that's really what empathy is being able to listen effectively and truly understand the other person, what's important to that person.
Yeah.
Right? That's what empathy is.
Yeah.
The next level is about building respect.
Yeah. And trust will come after that.
Trust comes after respect. But you can't build trust if you don't start with, and empathy is a skill. It's not, yes, are some people more naturally empathetic? Sure. But having true ability to proactively listen, because listening is a skill. It is something you get better at with practice and with feedback. Having an understanding of the other person's perspective of what's important to them. That's a skill that you learn through feedback. So we learn the skill of what does empathy mean. Respect is, how do you ensure that you're giving respect in order to earn respect? And it does start with a sort of giver's gain kind of mentality, right? Like,
so what's your advice for our small local businesses where they are constantly within this cycle of them being, wearing different hats? What's your advice for them to get out of this cycle so that they can progress and they can
first define the roles and responsibilities. Clearly define what are their roles that they are currently doing. Where do they spend their time that creates value for their customers?
So that's step number 1.
Yep. Okay. Define the roles and responsibilities. What is the thing I'm doing? Why am I doing this thing? What are the responsibilities that are inherently listed in there? How do I measure whether I've done this job well? Well, that's, if you do that, and then even what I recommend that people do is record your process, right? How are you doing that thing so well when you are doing it? Take the time. There's tools available. If this is a knowledge-based job and you're doing something on your computer screen, record yourself while you're talking through, here's what I'm doing. Here's the tool I'm using, and then turn that into a standard operating procedure for yourself. Maybe you're the only person that's using it today, but what it's providing you is a foundation for you to show this is the how-to to create these results, because I have to do this thing because this is the hat. I've defined the roles and responsibilities, all of those different hats that I'm wearing. Then what you've also done, especially if you've defined the roles and responsibilities that allow you to measure success, well, trust comes when you set clear expectations and then follow up on expectations. Trust starts happening when you start to delegate, delegate, but give somebody clarity of what their expectations are. Where you end up with somebody breaking trust, and why trust doesn't happen is usually it's your fault because you didn't give them clear expectations. You didn't help them identify.
So you think that's the mistake? That
the mistake is lack of expectations,
Yeah.
or not following up on those expectations correctly, not having a measurement in place, not having an ability to follow up on the expectation, or just not going through the effort of following up on expectations to catch people doing it right, so that you can start to really truly build that trust. And I think, I'll go back to it, but having a clarity of definition of the values that are important to you, so that that's something that you're identifying when you're bringing a team member on, that there's an initial alignment of values, is also important.
At some point, you talked about the last 19 years, you've been working for US-based organizations, and you've been mostly traveling and away from our community, and you did not have, you haven't engaged with the local community as much as you do right now.
Correct.
So what changed? What is the importance of engaging with our local communities now?
So I worked for a US-based company for 18 years. My clients were all in the US, and the teams I was supporting, I had about 4,000 employees in 6 different countries. And I spent a vast majority of my time, because I was teaching my leaders how to be more effective leaders. So I was traveling.
So you had no time here.
I was traveling to all of those locations and to support those businesses. Things changed during COVID, and then all of a sudden travel. But even before that, before COVID, I felt like there was something missing, a missing local connection, a connection to my local community. Yes, did I volunteer on the weekends to try to coach my son hockey as good as, I'm actually not that good of a hockey player, but I'm a pretty good coach, right? Did I try to involve myself in that way? Yes, but look, I think we already talked about it. The thing that's most important to me, outside of my friends and family, I love business, man. And I had no connection to the business community here in my home area. And that was, there was something that ate at me about that. I ended up leaving my corporate gig, and I could have stayed in that industry. I was pretty well respected. I could have probably got another job in that industry, but I chose to politely step away and think about what I was going to do. And that's why I felt that I could help still leverage my talent, my experience, my capabilities, and build a consulting business that was capable of utilizing my global perspective and my experience in the customer experience industry to help support the local business community and bring that balance of my purpose of making businesses better, but also allow me to have and build and strengthen my ties to the local community that I've called home for the last 20 years.
What's the fulfillment like now, engaging with local communities, local businesses?
Well, first off, I love it. I only started my consulting business. It's not even been 2 years, and and as you already pointed out, I had no connections in the local community. Really, much more than 20 months ago, right? So
do you wish you had these connections, or planted the seed 18, 19 years ago?
Sure, yes, that probably would have been more helpful for my business today. But you know what? I've got just these little local success stories. I've been working with a local bookkeeper for a little over a year. She was losing money every month. She was losing money. Worked with her for the past 14 months. She's well on her way to a 6-figure income through her business. She's been able to grow her business. She's grown her client base by 50%. She's grown her revenue by 50%. And she went from losing money every month to now where her business is hopefully going to earn her this year a 6-figure income.
Wow. What did you do to...
I helped her define her roles and responsibilities, create an alignment,
start
actually documenting how we do things. But also, it's about evaluating the other aspects of the business to make sure that she was charging the right prices. Was there an alignment between the value of the creation of the product for her customers and how much she was charging? Because all of these, there's a lot that goes into making businesses successful, but a lot of it does come down to that definition, that clarity of roles and responsibilities and why I'm doing this thing.
What do you think of giving back to the community? What is your perspective? How much should we give back to the community in terms of time or skills or financially?
I don't know if there's a
Yeah.
set answer on that,
Yeah.
Mo. I think each of us have our own intrinsic motivation, and I think what is it that's going to create meaning and fulfillment for you,
Yeah.
right? I think each person has to answer that for
Correct.
themselves, and that it's not they're just like there's no one right culture for a business, no one right way to lead,
Yeah,
no
but one may ask, like, why should I waste my time or my energy to give back to the community? What's going to be my ROI from that? Like, how would you answer to a person like that?
My short answer is it does come back to the fact that it is about strengthening the connections that you have here on this planet with the other people that we occupy it with. The stronger those connections, the deeper our relationships, the stronger our relationships with other people, ultimately is what's going to create fulfillment. And this is a meaningful way that you can help create and strengthen connection within your community and for yourself.
Yeah,
But again,
absolutely.
it is going to be different for other people.
Forever, Let's talk about your book, Praise.
Yes.
Praise as in praising a person for doing a great job.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
It sure is.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you give us a brief description of what your book is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a lot today about the difference between leadership and management, what it is to be a great boss, that combination of being both a great leader and a great manager, making more effective decisions. Supporting that, though, is your ability to communicate those decisions. And in a business environment, communicating your decisions is ultimately about how am I helping other people grow and improve? How am I helping my employees, my people in my company grow and improve? How am I helping my customers extract more value from my product, help them grow and improve, and ultimately help the profits of the business grow and improve? But ultimately, conversations in business are essentially coaching conversations where I help other people grow and improve. Or in other words, my definition of coaching is to inform, influence, and hopefully, if I've done it well, inspire the behavior of other people towards the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. You can't be an effective leader and manager in a business. You can't be a great boss if you don't have this essential ability to coach, if you don't have this essential ability to communicate in a way that helps other people grow and improve. So what praise is about creating a system by which you can consistently coach, consistently have one-on-one performance conversations with your team in a way that's actually aligned with helping them grow and improve. But it's about creating that system that's repeatable, right? It's about that system that you can turn into a habit. As human beings, we have a craving to be appreciated. We don't just like appreciation. No, I use the word craving. I'm stealing that from America's first psychologist, William James, right? But we have this essential, the deepest principle in human nature is our craving to be appreciated. The problem is, what happens in a lot of coaching situations is that people may do a good job of preparing for coaching, providing good advice, even delivering the coaching well, but then they don't follow up.
So what kind of a
it.
praise, when you mention praise,
Yes.
how could a person be praised?
Well, that's the reason that I called the book Praise and why I call it the cornerstone of coaching to success is that praise has become, again, I think the same people that say, be a leader, not a boss, or are the same people that preach be servant leadership, do this thing, but don't really tell you the specific hows. And they're the same people that when they go to work, they think they're praising people because they yell and they scream, yay, team, go job, good job, Jimmy, way to go, team. No, that's cheerleading, right? Or even just saying, great job today, Mo. That's not praise.
Okay,
you don't even know what I'm talking about. Good praise is praise that I followed up on coaching where I hopefully helped you improve your habits to hopefully help you inform you about something that you didn't know that you were doing incorrectly or you didn't know you could do better. I influenced you, so I talked about what's in it for you to do this thing. Why? Like, because I am, because I listen really well and I know what's important to you. So I hope to influence your behavior. But then, if I want to inspire that behavior, I have to follow up after the coaching. But I have to deliver praise. But when I deliver praise, I need to make sure that I'm actually praising the behaviors that you exhibited that created the results. A lot of times what happens in the workplace today, I call it the participation trophy syndrome, right? Is that we give praise for just showing up, or we give praise for results. But what we should be giving praise for are the behaviors that created good results. And we have to be precise that when we deliver praise, that we've delivered praise that was precise about the behavior, so you know exactly what you're being praised for. And two, the praise also needs to be personal. And by personal, I need to reiterate and remind you of what's in it for you, because I'm demonstrating my awareness of your goals and that I actually listen to what's important to you. And I use the term "with it" quite often, that what's in it for them, what's in it for them. So when I'm delivering coaching, I'm reminding that's the point, right? Is what's in it for them to improve. But when I'm giving praise, I remind them, again, what's in it for them to keep doing that again in the future. But more importantly, I also share how it personally made me feel. Like, it made me feel warm and fuzzy that you invited me out to join your podcast, for example. I love, like, this is a great conversation. I love it, man. I'd love to have more of these conversations. And
I'm glad that you're loving it.
yeah, well, this is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But unless I share how that makes me feel, it's not as meaningful. Because remember, this is supposed to be about a conversation between human beings, not between robots, right? And the third thing that happens, and the reason that praise sometimes isn't as effective as it could be, is that people save it up for some grandstand moment. Like, they wait for the person's annual review to tell them what a wonderful job they did. No, when
after
you
going through all that one whole year,
right,
waiting for that
no,
moment.
No. When you coach somebody, follow up, catch them doing it right, and don't save the praise. When you see it, say it, but make sure that it's personal and make sure that it's precise about the behaviors. So it's about incorporating that system of giving praise the right way into a system of coaching that's designed to be focused on what's in it for them to help them grow and improve. That's all in alignment with creating win-win-win decisions for the business, where the people are happier doing it to create that product for the customers, that creates a better result for the customers, that ultimately makes the business healthier, that makes the profits better. That's what my book is that system that creates better coaching, that actually informs, influences, and inspires the behavior of people towards the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
Finally,
yes, sir.
What is that one key takeaway from your book?
The one key takeaway is it is all about connection. Right? That if we're doing the right things, if we're making win-win-win decisions in our business, and we're focused on helping other people grow and improve, that we will strengthen the connections between the people that we work with. And it also makes us more successful in business, which allows us to grow our business and free our time to also strengthen our connections with our friends and our family. And you know what? We should still also have fun when we do it, man.
Absolutely.
We should have a laugh.
Yeah.
We should be having fun. And if it's not fun, we probably should think about that and do it a slightly different way.
Gamification.
Yes. There you go.
Awesome. It's a really nice conversation with you, Brent.
Same here, Mo. It was a true pleasure. Thank you very much for this. This is great. I love what you're doing with the podcast.
Thank
and really
you.
trying to help people develop that leader's mindset, whatever definition we end up coming up with on that.
Awesome. Excellent.